All right, my friends, we are back for another episode of the Altcoin Hunt. Today, we are doing a super interesting one. I was so excited to review this. We are going to be dissecting Floki, the Viking dog that refuses to stay just a meme. They are doing a little bit of everything. I was kind of shocked when I deep dived into this project. So, without any more kind of fluff intro stuff, let's just dive right in and take a look at it. And I'm going to start with their game because they have their own MMO. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of insane. I've reviewed a couple of gaming memes that have launched their own sort of games, and they were all absolutely terrible. I mean, this one, not only does it look good, but it does work. I did want to start off with this because it does freeze on me if I go off the tab for too long. My character disappears. But this is basically their play to earn model, and it looks good. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. So if you're into MMOs, definitely take a look at this. But let's kind of zoom out a little bit. Let's take a look at their website and dive into the narrative and vision for Floki because they are everywhere. They moved from sort of being just an Elon dog coin to a utility meme. And by that, I mean they have a huge ecosystem, a live metaverse game that I just showed, which is called Valhalla. They have the Floki trading bot on Telegram. They have TokenFi, Floki Hub. They have a FlokiFi locker, which is asset locks, basically. I mean, they even have their own freaking debit card, the Floki debit card, which is a prepaid card, and they have staking. So they also have an NFT marketplace. They also have the University of Floki. I mean, they even have a name service. So anything you can think of in terms of utility, they are doing it. And the recent catalysts for Floki are that the Valhalla mainnet just launched, which is for the game in July, and they are listing on Robinhood as of August 2025. So more eyeballs means easier on-ramps, especially for retail. A Robinhood listing is not easy to get. That is huge. They're already on Coinbase. So they're on the up. They're on the come up. You know, they have real products here. The game, the locker, the card bot. It's not just vibes for this. You know, most meme tokens are community driven and not doing too much, maybe picking a lane or two. Floki is trying to do everything, right? They have 715,000 followers on X. They have 37K on Instagram, TikTok. I mean, they have a huge Discord. So the narrative is basically a meme with revenue and burns, which is cleaner than most tokens. There is a culture risk, though, obviously, if the meme meta rotates and it falls out of favor, so to speak, then attention does bleed fast. But for me, it's super strong. I gave it a 16 out of 20 for the narrative and vision. They're doing a lot. The question is, can they keep doing all of this successfully all at the same time? So with that being said, let's get into some of the tokenomics and supply, and we'll take a look at the coin market cap here. I'll give you the full chart for Floki. They have about 10 trillion circulating. There is a tax, and this is important to note, a 0.3% tax on decentralized exchange buys and sells. So there's no tax on transfers and bridging. There are burns, which are utility linked. So 25% of FlokiFi locker service fees, auto buyback, and burn, which is good. The 1% of prepaid card top up fees, buy and burn. And there are early unstaking penalties. If you're staking your Floki, 5 to 20% are burned. Staking just means locking the token for yields, and the penalty discourages early exits. So important to note here that the burns are activity dependent. The con to that is that if usage does slow, the burn rate drops, right? So the optics here are greater than the economics unless the products scale. For Floki, again, the summary for this is that there are burns tied to real usage. It's not pure marketing, which is a huge plus. There is multi-chain flexibility on ETH and BNB with no bridge tax, which is also a plus. But there's a giant float, right? There's the 0.3% tax and variable burns, which means that it's going to be a slow grind unless demand spikes. And you can see that here on the tokenomics portion, 0.3% transaction tax on every on-chain buy and sell for ETH and BNB. So they are trying to generate revenue through this. And again, it's dependent on them having demand continuously. So keep that in mind. For that reason, I ding them a little bit on the score, 12 out of 20 for the tokenomics and supply. And we can move on to the tech and execution. I mean, again, they are doing a ton. They got the locker, they got the NFT. The Floki locker is audited by Certic and Skynet. It's monitored by them, which is really good. The lockers are, again, for LP tokens, NFTs, and fungibles, which is actual tooling and a huge positive. The Valhalla game, which is the browser MMORPG, is live on the mainnet. So you basically play to earn with NFTs through this, which is really cool, right? And they've actually delivered a seemingly decent game, although I haven't spent much time on it. And their GitHub is public. You usually don't see this. They do have a open GitHub. You can take a look at it. The activity on it is mad, but there is activity, right? So they are working on stuff. It's not deep protocol research and development. It's shipping products and brand. And that's fine for a meme that wants fees, which is what Floki is going for. The shipping cadence and audits are better than having some kind of roadmap theater, right? For a lot of these meme coins, they just show you a roadmap, but you have no idea if they're actually delivering on any of these things or the timelines. And the game, the locker, the card, the NFTs are multiple funnels for new users, both really big positives. But the con is that there is a minimal moat, right? Most of these features are copyable if the brand kind of cools off. So it's dependent on Floki continuing to do the marketing properly for them. With that said, I gave them a score of 15 out of 20 for the tech and execution because this is impressive, right? For what they've done. It's not just a meme coin built on, hey, our community is cool and we have a cool cat, right? They're doing stuff. They're shipping products. Let's go on to market structure and liquidity. I mean, they are super liquid. There's 20 pages of markets. They're mainly on Binance and BitGet and Coinbase. So the volume is definitely there. They have a 20% volume per market cap. So meaning the market cap is 1.1 billion and their daily volume is about 20% of that, 220 million. There's multiple on-ramps and off-ramps. They do have perps. Perps just means perpetuals, meaning you can do, sort of forever trading, and it lets you hedge or farm funding if that's your lane. Robinhood is the big key factor here, right? Them getting on Robinhood unlocks fresh US retail flows in these sort of hype meme windows. The only con I had for this one is that derivatives can cap pumps. So you do need to watch open interest and funding rates on sort of blow off news. So with that said, market structure and liquidity, super liquid, lots of stuff here. And I gave them a strong score of 17 out of 20. We can move on to the second to last section, which is exit risk and VC stakes. There is no classic VC unlock calendar disclosed for this. The funding leans on the 0.3% tax that I mentioned, plus the treasury, plus the product revenue. The treasury is multi-signature, which is 3 signers minimum. That's better than a sort of shadow VC cliff, but you're still trusting the brand plus the multi-sig. There's no obvious VC unlock overhanging, but the deflation via usage is good. It's not just promises. The treasury structure and widely distributed holders. I mean, this thing has a insane amount of holders. So yeah, 500,000 basically holders for Floki. There is, however, governance and centralization risk around the treasury and the brand decisions, right? If they make a bad brand decision, that could derail things a bit. So I gave it a score of 12 out of 20 for the exit risk and VC stakes for a final score of 72 out of 100. This is a high risk, high reward play. Why didn't I give it an 80 plus score? Well, the massive float, activity dependent burns, and the brand heavy moat is the only thing really keeping them back, in my opinion. And why not sub 50? Well, because this thing actually ships products. They actually have a game. They have the card. They have an audited locker. They're doing the NFT marketplace. And it just gained Robinhood exposure alongside Binance and Coinbase. That combo matters if there's going to be a meme or alt season. So I think the score is fair. And in my opinion, they knocked it out of the park. So let's take a look really quick at the chart and let's see if we can glean anything right off the bat. And as I'm looking at this, there's one thing that sticks out to me right away, which is this sort of rising wedge that I'll fix here in a second. So if you could see something like that. So that would be my rising wedge for this chart. Again, this is the weekly, and that's a pretty bullish looking chart. If you ask me, this is exactly what you want to see, which is higher lows as you go along. And especially on a weekly chart like this is very strong. You have a clear sort of ceiling here at the top. And if I were a long-term investor, what I would basically want to see for this chart to feel really, really good about it is maybe something like this, where you finally break out, you have a retest of that neckline, and then you're in price discovery, right? That is one of the most bullish things, in my opinion, that can happen. And I'll be keeping an eye on this for sure. You know, this is the weekly. If you look at the monthly, it's just a compressed version of this. And the chart looks really strong, right? You can't look at this and say that it's a bearish chart. Now, to play devil's advocate, could it, let's get rid of this first. Could it do the complete opposite, which is hit the resistance again, coil, and then break through the floor? Of course, anything can happen. So you have to keep those two paths in mind. But that's what I would be looking at for Floki. And this was a super fun deep dive to do. If you made it this far with me, first of all, thank you so much for sticking around and watching. I drop these 3 times a week. If this is your kind of thing, I'm not even going to ask you for it. You know what to do. I really appreciate you taking the time out. As always, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.